Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Buchman, and today we're going to talk about working on teams for your team project. I know everybody loves working on teams for your team projects, don't you? Okay, in all seriousness, I know that some of you have some concerns about working on team projects. You've been burnt before. Although I'm sure many of you had some really good experiences working in teams before. So the purpose of today's conversation is going to be about addressing some of those concerns. I can hear you. You're saying, I don't want to work with other people. It'll be so much faster if I do this myself. I can hear you. I can hear you saying, if I end up on a team with someone who's not going to do their work, I'm going to end up having to do all their work. Or perhaps you're saying, I don't have the time to work on other people's schedules, and they're going to expect things from me that I'm not going to be able to deliver. Some people are going to be too pushy. Am I going to have to be too pushy? How about this one? The quality of other people's work is not as good as mine, and I'm going to have to spend so much of my time fixing up their work. I know, I've been there. But I have to tell you that there are some amazing benefits to working on teams. First and foremost, it's great practice for the future. Because in the business world, you are going to be most definitely working on teams. And you're going to have to build trust and rely on other people. And you may not be working the same schedule as people. And you're going to have to find ways to communicate with each other and make sure that whatever projects that you've been assigned to deliver, you're going to be able to deliver with your team members and your cohorts in as effective and as a successful way as possible. There are some other great benefits to working on teams. For example, you don't have to do the whole project yourself. Many of these projects that you'll be assigned to do, especially ones perhaps in this class, will be enormous for one person to be able to do by themselves. So you work with other people to break up the pieces of the project and rely on your strengths to do the pieces that you do well, and maybe even learn from some other people. Imagine that. An opportunity to learn. Isn't that what we're here for in the first place? There's other great benefits too, and that is that you could rely on the strengths of your partners. Some people can do the research, some people can write really well, some people can edit really well. You put together a team of people who have different strengths and you balance off of each other, and you end up collaborating on a project that's going to be much bigger and much stronger and much more successful than if you worked on a project by yourself. Yes, the project will take you more time to do if you're working with other people and you have to go through numerous stages in order for everybody to approve the project than if you were doing it by yourself. But you've got those checks and balances and the ability to rely on other people to make this an even more successful project than if you did it by yourself. So what should you look for in team members? You should look for people who seem to have the same kind of enthusiasm about the project that you do. You should look for some people who do not have the same skills that you do, that have skills that are going to complement your skills. Make sure you've got someone on your team who knows APA really well. What about communication? How difficult is it to communicate with each other when you're not even in the same classroom with each other? So you can communicate. We've got some amazing technology these days, email, Facebook, online discussions in the classrooms. There's phones, there's texting, there's so many ways to communicate with each other and have those kinds of discussions. Of course, if you can make time to meet, that's great, but it's not necessary in order to be successful. So there are 4 stages of team development. The first stage is called forming. It's putting together the team. It's putting together the individuals that are going to be performing on your team. 3, 4, 12, 25 people. As many people as it is. In the case of most of these class projects, we're talking about 3 or 4, maybe 5 people. But you get to know the folks. And then your next stage is going to be storming. And that's where you start ironing out what those potential challenges are going to be. You need to be honest. You need to let your team members know what your concerns are and what your concerns have been in the past, why you've not enjoyed working on teams, and share with them what some of those success factors have been for when you've worked on teams. Talk about how you're going to communicate. Don't talk about the project. Talk about how you're going to communicate. Talk about how you're going to set up meetings. Are you going to have formal sit-down meetings, or are you going to rely on a once-a-day check-in through FaceTime? Your storming process is going to include setting up some kind of contractual obligation with each other. And I will supply you with a sample of a written contract that I would like you to use as part of this project. You're going to sit down and write down what those requirements are, who the members of your team are, and what those consequences are for missing deadlines or not communicating when you're supposed to be communicating. I like to think of the storming phase as kind of circling the wagon, getting to know each other, sizing people up, determining whether or not they're going to work with me or what I'm going to have to do to adjust to work with them. And this is an important thing for you to remember. It's just as important for you to learn how to adapt to your partner's styles as it is that you expect for your partners to adapt to your style. And the next phase is called norming. And norming is when you've got all your pieces together, you've determined how you're going to perform your project, and you start producing work. Norming is followed by the performing stage, and excellent teams reach that phase when they start performing and creating amazing results. But at the end of the day, if you focus your attention at the beginning of your project time on forming a strong team, storming and establishing those relationships and establishing those expectations, building trust with each other through the norming phase, you'll end up performing incredibly well and not only making yourselves proud, but putting a smile on my face as you read your final project. As always, let me know if you have any questions, concerns, and good luck with your project.